Alright, so welcome back to another video, but now on how to create an e-commerce with Vue for building user interfaces, Nuxt to streamline is the web development process, Strapi so we can easily manage our content and distribute, GraphQL for performance optimization, especially for page load time and decrease the payload of the content from the server to the client, Docker to containerize our applications so we can deploy that anywhere, Stripe to integrate payment options in our application, in our e-commerce, and deployed on Amazon Elastic Computing too, right? So the goal of this is to see how feasible, fast, maintainable, and scalable is to do this. And the way to do that, or the methodology is, well, first I look at the design, the build, step, the test, and deploy. So on the design, well, I choose is what will be the UI component library. So Nuxt contains several of them. Most of them are in beta. So I prefer VueStick. Okay, so it provides a set of components and user interface that works on mobile and desktop. So it is responsive. Strapi provides a Nuxt 3 models, while Stripe we're going to use is the car integration option. So the time estimated is to do that in less than 24 hours. So far we have taken or it took so far is 9 hours, okay, with the end of this video. And on the build process, something that I already did here, setting the backend, like setting Strapi and understand what Strapi is, because the main goal of Strapi was to bootstrap API, but now it grows into an ecosystem, an open source headless CMS, where this give freedom to developers so they can choose whatever favorite tools or framework and editors to easily manage and distribute their content using the admin panel. Since Strapi is plugin based system, so we can easily add or extend functionality in to the API as well as the admin panel, and also it comes with a permission system, this user system, so we can manage our permissions, so we can choose what admins and end users have access to. Okay, so I set up Strapi. I define also the common data structure from an e-commerce, whether it's products, order items, review, and then I populate that data with mock data, which it was time consuming, and now use a GraphQL plugin in Strapi. And the funny thing and the great thing of this is that plugin comes with an Apollo server, and if you remember what Apollo is this GraphQL implementation that provide to easily integrate is the data layer between your mobile applications and the cloud, okay? And it comes with a client and the server, among other features, advanced features. But right now here, this GraphQL plugin on Strapi, it comes with an Apollo server, cool, and something called the shadow crew, which behind the scene it generates types, definitions, query, mutations, and resolvers based on the models slash the types we define in the admin panel, which is king awesome. King awesome, man. And so we don't need to install an Apollo server from scratch, which is great, or define basic resolvers. All of them has been taken care of from us. This shadow crew actually does that behind the scenes. And then now when I jump to the front end side, okay, which is set up Nuxt, and the last video I dedicated quite a little bit of time to understand is the benefit and the trade-off of using Nuxt, which again, the whole idea is to improve and streamline the development process and the developer experience when building modern web apps, okay? And it is funny because especially when building all of these modern web applications, this ecosystem has evolved because the entire vendors or web browsers vendors, Google Google Firefox, Edge, or Internet Explorer, but now it's deprecated. Thanks for that. In Safari, okay, all of these web vendors, they have done few, almost to nothing, to improve that ecosystem. And because developers need to improve their productivity, aka to dedicate less time to do a particular job, a repeated task over and over, so they have created this huge amount of tools, right? So you have is a particular JavaScript framework, so to bring reactivity to the user. Also, routing on the client sides, a transpiler to use the latest JavaScript features on the web. Among the serverless API route mechanism to use, or particularly a transpiler or language where now we can use some of the latest features as well, or as the new advancement in the ecosystem. So all of this, and this is just to mention the tip of an iceberg when it comes to all of this technology that we need to know to build modern web applications, meaning that we dedicate less time to invest building web apps and more implementing new features. So again, the goal of Nuxt, okay, is delivering an optimized user experience. Okay, so optimizations like code splitting, tree shaking, optimize cold start, which start an app or service from scratch. So optimizing the initialization process, so minimizing dependency and preloading or caching. Link prefetching, which is a web development technique to improve the perceived performance of a website by proactively fetching resources that the user is likely to need in the near future. Again, if we overuse of the link prefetching, we might have a negative impact on the performance or the perceived performance. We also have rendering strategies. Okay, again, this is all of part of the delivering an optimized user experience. So optimization, code splitting, tree shaking, optimized cold start, lean prefetching, rendering strategy, server-side rendering, static site generator, client-side rendering, incremental static generation, okay, ESG, I don't know what is that, and the SWR, right, the stale while revalidate. SEO and Web Vitals, okay, by leveraging these, the server-side rendering, ES models or ES model formats, and optimized image, so Nuxt websites are indexable by search engine while giving the feeling of an app to the end user. Again, SEO and Web Vitals. So this is one of the goals of Nuxt, okay? Delivering an optimized user experience. Discovering a new developer experience like this, okay? Discover a new developer experience, plug and play, automations, embedded includes. So when it comes to plug and play, is with the most intuitive directive structure. Automation is the repetitive tasks that automated, like auto import, code splitting, typings, minification, bundling for productions. Embedded includes, so data fetching, exactly, data fetching, state management, meta tags, helpers, route guards, cookies, error handling, bundle analyzing, and more. And this is something very, very important to know and distinguish and to talk about that, right? Announcement next 3 is out. That's right. And ship faster with Nuxt model, a community of web builders. So a community of web builders. A community of web builders. So they also have a Discord channel, GitHub, and Twitter. Discord, Twitter, the Discord, Twitter, and GitHub. You have NPN, Discord, Twitter, GitHub, and Twitter. A solution to cover all your needs. Developers deserve solution as well designed as non-technical people. Our focus is to empower Vue developers to ship great software with confidence. And here you have his official agency partners, Nuxt expert networks, and community support. Official agency partner. Interesting. Epic Max, Brain SLR. And most of the time, all of them are there in Europe, Western Europe. Western Europe. E-commerce software SaaS, UI, UX, consulting, and code audit. Kudo Tech. Laravel partners, Vue.js partner, Nuxt partner, Figma. $64 robots. PHP Vue, JavaScript, Dockerfile, and TypeScript. Baltimore. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay, this is serendipity. This is definitely serendipity. Interesting. Okay. Okay. I wasn't expect that wasn't I wasn't expected. I wasn't expected anyway. So uh keep looking at this, right? So now the whole point of this is to set up Nuxt. Okay, the whole point of this is to set up Nuxt. Okay, so that's it. Let's go for it. Okay. Set up Nuxt like this. And then you got this here. And let me open is a new console. Let me close this. Let me stop this Strapi service. And here I'm going to define is the client side. So run the binary here, call the latest version of Nuxt 3, and run the init command with the name of your app, right? Okay. Nope. This will be called is the client. Need to install the following package. Nuxt 3, please proceed. Okay, so Nuxt is the install dependency with npm or jar install or performance npm install. Start development service with this, and then you got it. So Nuxt. So Nuxt is the CLI command line, you know. Node.js version 16.0 nowhere. Let me check the version here. It's 18. That's great. Okay. There you got it. So Nuxt is part of the. Let me look at the introduction here. Server-side rendering, server engine, production ready, modular, and the architecture. That's right. So Nuxt is the command line interface. It's the Nuxt interface. It's a command line interface. Okay, that's great. So that's Nuxt, the command line interface. So our project, in this case, this client, cd client, we navigate here, we open up the client here. We already have this TypeScript pre-configured, and the Nuxt config that it comes with TypeScript, which is great. Also you have here, and that's all. It's actually very lean application, right? So if we want to run this, we say npm performance, npm package, npm manager, run def. Because we need is to install that local package.js exists, but no model is missing. Did you mean install it? Yes, let me install that. Update available. This is to the npm. All right. And it is done. Okay, and it also generate is, if you look at this, behind the scenes generate is this hidden folder which contains the schema and the types. All right, as well as the config and components, imports, and Nuxt definition types. Okay, great. Let me, by the way, update this. Content addressable store is at this, and there you got it. Cool. Now we can just tell, hey, pnpn run def. That was fast. That was bloody fast, man. That was fast. That was fast. That was fast, man. That was fast. Holy moly. And welcome to Nuxt. Okay, remove this welcome page by replacing Nuxt welcome with the app.js. Exactly. Model, examples, and documentation. Okay. It was pretty fast, by the way. Yeah, that was pretty fast. That was pretty fast. Okay, that was actually pretty fast. So here you got. Wow. Okay. All right. Okay, so now that we are here, we can take a look at the introduction. It's to again that is something very important for any developer or any senior developers, any developers that knows and to need to understand the fundamentals. So dedicate time to learn the fundamentals. So Nuxt is a free open source framework with an intuitive and extendable way to create type-safe, performant, and production-grade full-stack web application and website with Vue. This is Nuxt 3. Okay? So we can create type-safe, performance, production-grade full-stack web applications and website with Vue.js. So we made everything so you can start writing .vue files from the beginning while enjoying hot model replacement. Again, this is a technique that is used in development. Exactly. And a performing application in production with server-side rendering. And a performing applications in production with server-side rendering by default. This is something crucial to understand. Okay? So, okay. So now on the introduction, okay. So Nuxt allows to create. So Nuxt allows to create type safe. Yeah, Nuxt allows to create type safe, performant, performance, and production grade full stack web apps and website with Vue. Web apps and website with Vue. Very, very important. So Nuxt allows to create type safe, performant, and production grade full stack web apps and production grade full stack web apps and websites. A website with view. Okay, exactly. Okay, and we made everything so you can start writing Vue.files from the beginning while enjoying hot model replacement in development and a performing application in production with server-side rendering by default. Nuxt has no vendor lock-in, allowing you to deploy your application anywhere, even to the edge. And this is part of the deployment. Okay. Uh, so they say, hey, well, we made everything so you can start writing Vue files. So we can start writing Vue files from the beginning. From the beginning, while enjoying hot model replacement in development, uh, performance production server side rendering by default. Okay, meaning when I deploy this, it will come. So yeah, when I deploy this e-commerce, each route the server will generate the static files and then serve that content, that static content that the browser can understand and the web crawler can index easily to the client, to the users. Okay, interesting, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And Nuxt has no vendor lock-in and allow you to deploy your application anywhere, even to the edge. Okay. As I move on, automation and conventions. So Nuxt use conventions and opinionated directory structures to automate repetitive tasks and allow developers to focus on pushing features. The configuration files can be customized and override its default behavior. So file-based routing, code splitting, server-side rendering out of the box, auto import, data fetching, automations and conventions. Okay. Automations and conventions. All right. So automations and convention, such as file-based routing, something that I'm quite familiar with previous Nuxt versions, code splitting, exactly for initial load time. So it has code splitting, reduce the initial load time, server-side rendering out of the box. Nuxt comes with a built-in server-side server capability. You don't have to set up a separate server yourself, which is great. Okay, we don't need that. Set up a separate server by ourselves. Auto imports. So write view composables and components with the respective directory and use them without having to import them, with the benefit of tree shaking and optimized GS bundle. Great. Data fetching utilities. Nuxt provide composables to handle server-side compatible data fetching as well as different strategies. Very, very important. Okay. Data fetching utilities. Zero config TypeScript support. And exactly zero config TypeScript support, because write type safe code without having to learn TypeScript with our auto-generate types, without having to learn TypeScript. This is a little bit serious. After all, you need to do that. And configure and build tools. We use Vite, this next generation of front-end tooling. Okay. And it is written on Go. So by default, support hot model replacement in development and bundling your code for production with best practice baked in. Okay. All right. This is very, very important to know. Okay. And to be able to, what the fuck? Okay. I get it. No, exactly. So this kind of thing, this soft skills, the ability you to describe what are the capability of the tool that you're using, okay? What are the common use case is very, very, very important as a business consulting freelancer or as an individual, okay? This is part of the soft skills that most companies and even yourself you need to have and companies are looking for. Okay, noise. So Nuxt takes care of this and provide both front-end and back-end functionality so you can focus on what matters, creating your web app. Then I look at the server-side rendering. Okay, again, this is something that comes by default. This server-side rendering. Okay, so you have faster initial page load time. Okay, faster initial page load time. So Nuxt sends a fully rendering HTML page to the browser, which can be immediately displayed and improve the SEO behind the scenes. This can provide a faster perceived page load time, a better user experience, especially on slower network or device. It's faster initial page load time. Since now Nuxt sends a fully rendering HTML, so anytime you define a particular route, Nuxt behind the scenes will generate is the static or a fully rendering HTML page to the browser, which can be displayed immediately and improve the user experience on slower network or device. Also doing so, okay, because now all the content is in the website, because now all the content is in the HTML, so now web crawlers can now how to index your website. So search engine can better index server-side page. Yeah, search engine can better index server-side rendering page because the HTML content is available immediately, rather than requiring JavaScript to render the content on the client side. Better performance on low power device. Okay. Better performance on low power device, because it reduces the amount of JavaScript that needs to download and execute on the client, which can be beneficial for low power device that may struggle with processing heavy JavaScript applications. Better accessibility. The content is immediately available on the initial page load, improving accessibility for users who rely on screen reader or other assistive technologies. Something that I barely know about this, okay, and also important, okay, since the content is immediately available on the initial page load, improving the accessibility for users who rely on a screen reader or other assistive technology. Easy catching. Page can be cached on the server side, which can further improve performance by reducing the amount of time it takes to generate and send the content to the client. Yeah, and page can be cached on the server side, which can further improve the performance and reducing the amount of time it takes to generate and send the content to the client. So by catching the for example, once you access to a particular route and now the server generate a full rendered HTML page to the browsers, it can immediately display that, so improve the user experience, improve the SEO because now the content is available on the HTML and web crawler can easily index that. Better performance on low power device because now all of the or the JavaScript codes and or this device they don't need to download and execute any client-side code. Okay, better accessibility again because the content is now present. It improves the accessibility for users who rely on screen reader or any other assistive technology, and it is easier to catch. So instead of regenerate that fully rendered HTML page over and over and over and over and over and over, so we do that just one and then catch that. So the server handled that. Okay. Okay. Very illustrative, my friend. Very, very eye-opening. Okay. Overall, server-side rendering can provide a faster and more efficient user experience as well as improve search engine optimization and accessibility. As Nuxt is a versatile framework, it gives you the possibility to statically render your whole applications to a static hosting with Nuxt Generate, which is great. Disable the server-side rendering globally with server-side rendering false options, or leverage hybrid rendering by setting up route rules. So, even though that server-side rendering comes by default, you have the possibility to render your whole application to a static hosting using the Nuxt Generate, something that I am familiar with, or do a hybrid rendering by setting up the route rules options. Okay, and then you have the server engine. So Nuxt Server Engine Nitro unlocks new full stack capabilities. Okay, interesting. This is the server engine. So in development, it uses Rollup and Node.js Worker for your server code and context isolation. It also generates your server API by reading files in the server API and server middleware from server middleware. Okay. It also generates your server API by reading files in server API and server middleware from server middleware. In production, Nitro builds your app and server into one universal output directory. Okay, this output is slide, minify, and remove from any Node.js model except polyfill. You can deploy this output on any system supporting JavaScript, from Node.js, serverless, worker, edge-side rendering, or purely static. Interesting, because with Nuxt or the server engine, okay, this server engine. So the server engine, so the Nuxt server engine Nitro unlocks new full stack capabilities. Because in development, it uses rollup and Node.js worker for your server code and context isolation. In develop, it uses rollup and Node.js worker for your server code and context isolation. It also generates your server API by reading files in server API and server middleware from server middleware. And in production, Nitro builds your apps and server into one universal output directory. And this output is slide, minify, and remove from any Node.js model except polyfills. You can deploy this output on any system supporting JavaScript, from Node.js, serverless, workers, edge-side rendering, or purely static. But again, any system supporting JavaScript. The browser is one of them, which they mean purely static. And then you have production ready. A Nuxt application can be deployed on Node or Dino server, pre-rendering to be hosted in a static environment or deployed to serverless and edge providers. Production ready. Okay. A Nuxt application can be deployed on Node or Dino server. Very, very, very interesting. Dino server. The easiest, most secure JavaScript runtime. The best developer experience without the learning curve. Avoid installing dependency. Safari, Chrome, Dino, and Node. Workers. URL pattern. Abort controller. Response.json. Window close. Alert. Local storage. Navigator. GPU. TypeScript out of the box. Great all-in-one tooling. Hassle-free deployment. Vote one of the most loved web technology in a server for over 70,000 developers. Built to perform at your speed. Worker RPS. The fastest JavaScript web server ever built. HTTP Hello World using WRK on Mac. Son. designed from the ground up for high performance. It doubled up the amount of requests. Powered by Chrome's V8, built on top of the fastest and most complete JavaScript engine. Okay, what stood out first and foremost to our team was their laser focus on security. Yep. Like the ability to execute code with limited access to the file system or external domains. Secure by default. Do you want to send data to evil servers? Run on trust code. By default, Dino provides no input and output access and is appropriate for running on trust code and interesting. By default, Dino provides no input and output access and is appropriate for running on trust code and auditing new third-party code. Fine-grained permission checks. Save for npm package. Netlify, GitHub's Supabase. Interesting. Interesting. Very, very interesting. In any case, here, man, we are with Nuxt. We are here reading Nuxt. So production ready, a Nuxt application can be deployed on a node or Dino server, pre-rendering to be hosted in a static environment or deployed to serverless and edge providers. Okay. So production ready. So Nuxt can be deployed on Dino node or Dino pre-rendered to be hosted in static environments or deployed to a serverless and edge provider. Okay. Modular. A module systems allow to extend Nuxt with custom features and integration with third-party service. Okay, it's modular. And the architecture here. Modular. Okay. A model system okay, this is Arial in black, and the architecture, which is something that I care the most. Okay, the core engine, the bundler, the command line, the server engine, the development kit, and Nuxt 2 bridge. This is the architecture of Nuxt. Okay, because I read that over the last couple of months. Okay, so Nuxt is composed on different core packages: the core engine, the bundlers, whether you use Webpacks or Vite, the command line interface, the Nuxi, the server engine Nitro, that in development it uses Rollup and Node.js workers for your server code and context isolation. It also generates your server API by reading files, API, and server middleware from server middleware. Development kit, okay, this is part of the module, and Nuxt 2 bridge. We recommend reading each concept to have a full vision of Nuxt capability and the scope of each package. So, that's right. So that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.